Here's the deal in life, man. You got to take advantage of every moment that you have. Now, I've got a brief moment. I had to run to the grocery store. My wife just got back in town. She's going on the road now. So there's a difference in this, man. I talk about a lot on this channel about going on the road and the ups and downs of doing that. And you can try to tell somebody what it's like to be on the road. And they can imagine it and they can try to feel what you felt, but they can't really feel it in full effect until they've actually done it themselves. Now, look, here's the deal. I met my wife when I was on the road. And so here's the deal, man. She saw me, on the road with my long hair and my beard, and I'm chugging whiskey straight out of the bottle. And, I was a wild man. I was out of control. I was Captain Caveman. And, we didn't date right out of the gate like that. It was probably maybe a year, maybe 2 years after I'd gotten off the road, but we had stayed in touch, and then eventually, man, we struck up a conversation and just started having real heart-to-heart talks about life and what we wanted out of life and all of that. And I had been off the road for a couple of years, so I changed. I come back to my senses, a little bit of normalcy in my life. Now, look, I was still every now and then going out to the bars and having a few drinks, but I had settled down a lot. It was no longer every night is Saturday night. And I tried to explain to her, she eventually, through her job, got to work with a tour bus company. And so they did a tour of one of the buses and like she came on the bus when we met. But most people don't get to see the bunks and all that. Everybody usually just hangs in the front lounge, has a few drinks, and that's it, right? But when she saw, like, oh my God, you guys sleep in those, it's like a coffin. And I'm like, yeah, it's like a coffin, right? And you can try to explain to people how difficult it is and what it's like being on the road. But now my wife, through her job, is doing a lot of traveling. Now, when I say a lot of traveling, it's nowhere near what we were doing on the road. Where, here's the thing, man. You'd go on the road sometimes, and you'd be out for 3 weeks. Those 3-week runs, those are always the butt kickers, man. Those always take a lot out of you. And usually what that entails, a 3-week run is either something where you've got to go way up, north, like North Dakota or South Dakota, somewhere up in there, and then work your way down and across and all that. But most of the time, a 3-week run will be like you're going out west and you're going to work the West Coast for a while. And it's going to take you 2 to 2.5 days just to get out there. And the whole way you're there, when you're on your way there, you're living on that bus and you're living on it for a couple of days. So anytime you've got to stop, it's truck stop food, it's fast food, it's whatever you can grab wherever the bus pulls over. And, it's not easy. Now, what my wife is doing is going and flying somewhere and being there for 2 or 3 days and then coming home. That's nowhere near as hard as getting on a bus and being gone for 3 weeks and surviving, out in, on the road. But, I noticed when she's coming back now, and like last night, she got back and her plane arrived at like a little after midnight. And by the time she got home and started getting in the shower, it was like close to 2 a.m. And then, of course, the house wakes up at its regular hours. And, she was out of it. She was out of it today. And I just thought, man, it's good that she gets an idea of what it was like to some degree to go out on the road. But there's still no way that anybody can really understand unless you've done it, how difficult going out for 3 weeks and playing all these shows and the madness of all that and the after show parties and the night after night gigs and meeting this person and meeting that person and living out of your suitcase for weeks at a time and not having access to a laundry and sometimes not sleeping in a bed for weeks. Imagine sleeping in a moving bus for like weeks at a time. It's one thing to fly somewhere and get a hotel room and that's paid for and you've got the room to yourself. And when it's time, when you're tired or whatever, you can, crash in the bed and sleep and lay there till you're fully rested and get up in the morning and hit the gym and go eat a decent breakfast and all that. But when you're go, playing shows, the after parties, the madness and all that, then getting on the bus takes off. And here's the thing, man, when you're on the road, the bus will either leave at midnight or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, depending on how far the next stop is. And that bus driver will drive all night to the next stop, right? And that's all mapped out to where usually there's an hour and a half leeway that he can get to the next place on time, right? And that poor bus driver has got to drive all night, right? He goes in, usually has lunch with the band and everybody, at noon when lunch is like every day the first meal would be lunch, right? And he goes in and he has the lunch and then he gets a ride, to the hotel where he has his own room, because that probably the most important job besides a tour manager is the bus driver. And that poor guy, man, it's no all night party for him. And here's the thing, man, the bus driver, if you've had a particularly raucous, hell-raising gig, the bus driver has got to drive that bus while all those people in that front lounge are having the absolute time of their lives, whooping it up. People, I've seen people wrestle, dumping beers on people, ice fights, laughing, cackling. It just depends on what's going on. Some nights rage harder than others. And that bus driver's got to keep a steady hand and a focus on the road. And here's the thing, man. He doesn't have time to stop, every 4 or 5 hours. So that bus driver has got to limit his fluid intake so that he can drive for 6 to 7 to maybe 8 hours without stopping, without pulling over to use the restroom. Man, that's a tough thing, man. We've all done road trips where we've, I always try to get my wife. I said, look, we're going to stop once. And she's like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. I said, look, you limit your fluid intake. You drive, you sip on your caffeinated beverage. You sip it, not drink it. You sip it. And you sip it till it's, your tank is, 3/4 of the way gone. And then you stop and you reload. And then you keep going on your trip. That's on a car road trip. But that bus driver usually has enough fuel to get from point A to point B. That's kind of how those buses are lined up. And but he'll probably stop at the start of the evening. The first stop will be, after he gets the band at the hotel and everybody's loaded up and all that. He'll usually drive the bus to a truck stop and load up on gas, and that's when his journey, his all-night journey begins. And if there's an issue with the bus during that drive, if there's any kind of trouble or problem with the bus, a flat tire, or any number of things, or somebody running into the bus, or or a flat tire on the trailer, usually bands will have a trailer they pull behind with their merch or their gear or whatever. And it can be a very long night. And here's the deal, man. Then maybe he gets to the next destination, and there's something he needs to keep that bus rolling. And I've seen times where the bus driver's out there in the sun, repairing something on the bus, and maybe working till 3, 4 in the afternoon, and then hopefully getting to his hotel room and trying to get enough sleep. Here's the thing, man. Everybody knows it's hard to, to get an effective night of sleep when you're in a different bed every night. And some of the hotels are nice, and some of them are not nice. And man, this is probably, I would say, this video, and I tell people a lot of times, I don't run out of ideas for videos. I've got all these things. I've got life that inspires me. And my wife's journey on the road has inspired me and reminded me of what we went through, of what we survived, of what it's like on the road. And this is probably a salute to the bus drivers. And I'm gonna send a particular shout out to my favorite, Tim. Thank you for your amazing driving ability and friendship and all that. Man, we had my last time on the road, we had a great bus driver. And both of us left that particular gig at the same time. He was an amazing driver, an amazing person, and kept us safe, man. Kept us safe. Didn't let anybody come on the bus and try any mess. Put up with our nonsense, put up with the mess that sometimes we would leave behind when everybody would stumble out of their bunk and after the big party after the show. And I never heard him complain. I never heard him say anything. He kept us safe, man. And I've been in a lot of different buses and a lot of different drivers. And some I felt more safe than others, but I never once worried about the drive with this particular driver driving that bus. And man, this is a huge thank you. I hope he sees this. It's a big salute. And yeah, TT. I'll just send a shout out to TT. He knows who he is. Thank you, brother. Your excellence was much appreciated. You kept us safe. We didn't lose anybody. We didn't lose the bus. No major calamities, although it seemed like he was always having to fix something or always trying to repair something or deal with an issue, even with a brand new bus. Even with a brand new bus, there's no guarantees that there's not going to be problems. And man, that's what it's really like when you're out on the road, man. It's not easy. It's no joyride. And all you can really hope for is that you get out of it alive.
I almost lost him.